We were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
From outer space, from another planet.
Welcome to S4.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to S4, the official radio broadcast of Forest Moon Paranormal, with host Eric Cooper and our panel of enlightened minds. Coming to you live from FMP headquarters located in the heart of Skagit Valley, Washington, at the base of the majestic North Cascade Mountains. We will take you through a journey of exploration as we examine every aspect of the metaphysical. From spirits, UFOs, Bigfoot, and conspiracies, to grounding, protection, astral travel, and everything in between, leaving you with a better understanding and comprehension of the world around you, and the entities that inhabit it. Join us every Saturday night at midnight, here on the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. Also, check out the Forest Moon Paranormal Facebook group to join in the discussion. Now sit back, open your mind, get ready, because this is S4.
Good evening or morning, depending on where you are from, and welcome to S4, the voice of Forest Moon Paranormal, coming to you live from FMP headquarters in the heart of the Cascade Mountains in Concrete, Washington. FMP is a highly active emergency response team for all aspects of the paranormal, from aggressive hauntings, alien interaction, Bigfoot and other cryptids, and everything in between that's terrifying. S4 is the voice where we discuss these things in detail. So, we're only on the S4 Spreaker tonight because Night Dreams Talk Radio, which is the network we're usually on, is down tonight. So, normally we're on Night Dreams Talk Radio, but for our listeners, we're only on www.s-4radio.com. And for local listeners on KSVU 90.1 FM, Saturday nights from 10 to 12. So, folks, tonight, it's the 16th of March, we're talking Paranormal Tech. Is it necessary? And what kind of tech is out there? Is it different whether you're doing Bigfoot, UFOs, and hauntings? And what's the different kinds of tech that we deal with? So tonight with us we have Colway Gleitner, our FMP Lore and Culture Research Specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services, Megan Gehring, Astral Team and Security Specialist, Seth, our S4 Conspiracy Specialist and FMP Team. And the last hour, we're going to have Steve Monchok, and he's going to be talking drone operations. So I can't wait for the last hour, because I love hearing about drones. And I think we are actually the only team in the galaxy that actually has our own drone specialist. And they're really important. They really are. There's a whole lot of capabilities that drones can do for this field. So how are we doing tonight, guys?
Awesome.
Great. Everything is amazing.
Good.
The whole household just got over dealing with the flu here, and on the 10th, my wife and I celebrated 15 years of being together. So that's great. So if everybody
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Yes. She deserves a medal. I deserve a beating.
I hear you. So I spent the entire day, and you know, this actually leads into kind of what we're talking about tonight, because of the fact that FMP is actually going more into mountain investigation. You know, it's just a branch off. Don't get me wrong. We will always be doing, global client cases with hauntings, and whatever kind of issues you got in the paranormal, but in the Cascades, we have so many UFO sightings, and Megan can go into that because I know she had, 4 sightings just the other day?
4 sightings in the last 14 days. Yeah.
And, Bigfoot's always here, but I do think Bigfoot migrates. He goes to higher elevations during the winter. You won't hear too many stories right now down here until it starts getting warmer, which is supposed to get in the 60s this week. Ain't that great? The snow is going away. I better knock on wood. Hold on. I'm knocking on wood. The snow is going away. So, I went to this farm auction, the Meridian auction, and I got a whole bunch of tools for like $2 a box. I mean, it's great. And then I got a storage unit for $25. It was awesome. It goes into tech in a sense, because what we need are tents, are canopies, medical supplies. And I got 2, I'm trying to think how to describe them, but 2 of those outdoor industrial construction lights for like $5. And, that's what we need for security when we're up in the mountains at a base camp.
Called construction work lights.
There you go. But yeah, I got 2 sets for like $5 a piece. And it's funny. Auctions are fickle. So I was there right when they opened at 9 o'clock, and I got my first set for like $5. About 15, 20 minutes later, I got my second set for $5. 2 hours later, they've got a third set. It went for how much? Take a guess how much that set went.
$5.
$30.
Oh, I was going to say that.
Exact same set. I got for $5, but everyone wakes up and everyone floods into the auction, and now you've got 11 billion people all bidding on the same thing, which is why, early bird gets the worm. You get to the auction early, you don't have so much competition, and if nobody else is bidding, you say $250, and they go, okay, $250, wait, auction language, and you get it for $250. Show tech. And I can't wait, like I said, for Steve to come on, because it's his drone skills and his drone tech is phenomenal. He's been droning for at least 4 or 5 years, if not longer. He's FAA certified, so he's completely legal. And he's gotten anomalies on the ground just droning in the mountains without even looking for anything. So when it comes to Bigfoot, when it comes to even UFOs, if we find a UFO landed, it would pick up. And another thing I look for when we're looking aerial, even on Google Maps, is rings of dead ground, rings of dead trees, things like that. Things that just wouldn't be normal in a normal in an environment, because it indicates something's going on, whether it's Fae. It might even be a Fae issue, or a landed UFO, or who knows. Those are things we want to go check out. I tried to get Bill Hauser on tonight, but it was kind of short notice, and I couldn't get him, because it'd be kind of cool to get him on with his spirit box, do a live session. He goes on Space Out Radio and does it. He likes doing it. And his spirit boxes, he actually builds. So he's got awesome spirit boxes. If you're looking for a good app, and I'll let Megan hit on this because I know she knows more about the spirit apps than I do, but I like Dave Miller's Executioner's Box. And what he does is it runs radio frequency, but his spirit apps actually they run through the frequencies in reverse. So if you look at a spirit app, for example, you can sit there and say, well, you know what, it could have been little bits and snippets of words from radio stations that got picked up. But if you're running the radio frequencies in reverse, there's no chance of that. So if you got words coming through a spirit app that's running reversed, yeah, I would look at history. I would look at transcripts. I would look at who lived there, and do those words make sense within the context of the location. And you guys are too quiet.
What? No, you're just talking.
We are.
Well, jump in. Come on now.
All right, his app goes along with something that I've previously constructed. I don't know if you remember me talking to you about using an RTL SDR dongle and an OTG on the go cable with an Android tablet, or you could use it with a computer, but for mobile operations, you can look up certain phones that have the OTG on the go capability. Now, for people who don't know what that is, on the go would allow you to plug in any USB device to your phone, like using a mouse or a keyboard or a gaming controller. But you can also plug in this RTL SDR dongle, and different ones have different capabilities, including picking up audio, video, digital modes, like being able to pick up trunking police radio and things of that nature. So with this program called SDR Touch, what I did, because it was way back when we first started talking, I got to thinking, how can I get an EVP without any other questionable audio?
Right.
Because like you said, you have through the radio, you may get part of the weather forecast or the ball game, and it's really easy for a skeptic to count that out.
Exactly.
So here's what you do. Eric, like with the Bowfung radios, and Cole, I'm pretty sure you know too, in regard to your squelch and how you can have sub-audible tones in with that. If you put in random sub-audible tones in your scanning pattern and save it, then what that means is the only thing that is going to come into your frequency is whatever generates that sub-audible tone. Here's where it gets interesting. If a spirit or interdimensional being has the capability or energy to be able to do that, then you can, with almost certainty, know that you are recording that communication. Now, what I still recommend for anybody doing this is you still have a little digital, recorder for yourself, for your voice, and then you can correlate them. And the thing is then if you hear that same exact recording on your EVP device of your choosing, and the RTL SDR dongle paired with your Android device, and they match up, it's a way of checking and balancing yourself. So we know that certain frequencies, and probably talking with R. Keith, maybe he could elaborate too if he were around to tell you, different beings can put off different frequencies, and you always talk about raising or lowering your vibrations. You can sense these vibrations in the form of a radio frequency. Anything that vibrates or moves makes a hum, puts off light. Anything that causes any type of motion puts off RF. It may be a tiny, small, less than a milliamp amount, or it may be hundreds of thousands of watts, like a radio tower. That is why you put these certain things in order. So technically, when you go further down in frequency, that is the stronger that the being is. It's like in your car, for example, when you're listening to the radio, if you're on 99.3 FM, that signal is stronger than 107.9 FM. And that is because of the way the radio spectrum is built. So if you don't have on-the-go capability, you can do the same exact thing. If you have an old police scanner lying around, you can do it if you buy a little $25 Bowfung radio. You set up a scanning pattern There's 127 channels. And when you add all these tones in together, it creates a canvas, a blank canvas of white noise that is unfiltered by the human voice. So if you are putting this on record mode with the SDR dongle, for example, it's not going to pick up what you and I are saying in the investigation on that particular device, because its sole purpose is to only receive what comes through the antenna. Therefore, it is strictly filtered out. And it's a almost foolproof way to do things.
I want to reiterate something you said, though. So, it doesn't matter what technology you're using, whether it's EMF, whether it's catching an EVP with a scanner, even with cameras, full spectrum cameras, any technology you're using. How many cases have we been on where the batteries were instantly drained? They were brand new, they were fully charged. You walk into a location, it's drained, gone.
Definitely.
Any technology can be manipulated, whether it's alien. Even cameras with Bigfoot. Haunting. Any electronic device can be manipulated.
Oh, yes. It can be manipulated by the spiritual or interdimensional beings.
Right.
But it's something like the average human. It's like, if I set this up, and I have this, and let's say I'm part of the control experiment here, you say, okay, we're going to bring Seth in this, little device he's got worked up. And it's just like a psychic. You can't tell their thoughts or anything like that. And if they write down on the notepad, let's say they write down in a whole completely another room the same exact words that you, with your digital recorder, heard from a spirit or otherworldly being. That's the control point. Now, the thing is you say, okay, like with the technology, it can be manipulated. That is the good thing about an RTL SDR dongle, because the first thing for me, which I don't go on investigations anymore, but summertime's coming, I'd like to get more involved. My issue is affordability and being able to replace. Now, while it's all well and good, for example, to be able to go in with the best camera and whatever, that's great. But you're also, it's like when you're taking your car out on the road, you're compromising that to the whim of every other, player in the field. So for me, I want to have something that if it gets broken, I'm not going to scream about. You can get these little dongles for as cheap as $12 on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. And that's the nice thing, this technology is getting cheaper and cheaper as we go. But my point is research the area, find out who died, find out any kind of disasters that happened there, and when you do get information that comes through, whether it's photo, whether it's EVP, whether you have a high EMF reading in a certain area of the house, you can compare that to the technology and the information you've learned from either the client or from historical documents, county records, property records, things of that nature, and that is what validates your technology.
Because I read about teams, for example, where they thought they may have gotten an EVP, but it actually turns out there was ingress on the cable lines that were spliced, and they were actually picking up signal from the television through the recorder.
Right, or the ones that walk in with their cell phones and they're getting high EMF readings. Well, it's your cell phone. Or
that brings up an interesting point. Go ahead, and then I'll tell you.
Well, and it's like the ones, you watch the ones on Paranormal TV that, if you're properly getting an EVP, if you're actually got a digital recorder and you're actually asking questions and you're working on getting EVPs, you don't hold the device. You put the device down and then you ask your questions. Because what they're doing on TV, sometimes, not all of them, but sometimes, is doing what's called a thumb rub. And that's where they're actually rubbing the device, and they're making noise. And they're going, oh, did you hear that? Oh my God, I think we got
Yeah.
something. No, it's your thumb, dumbass.
And when you think about it, that's one of the oldest tricks in the book, because you take a look, for example, you guys know who Peter Frampton is. He made his guitar talk.
Right.
He's a dude who can make his guitar talk. It's because he learned to manipulate that frequency in a way to make it mimic the human voice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you know, if there's like a paranormal investigator, or I should say a crackpot paranormal investigator with too much time on their hands, maybe they want to get noticed quick, they're sitting there listening and figuring out which way they can rub their thumb to make it say, "Hello, how are you?" But that leads me to a question I want to ask every single one of you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for one, we got 5G coming. And I'm hearing different things about when it's going to roll out.
Megan.
Some say by the end of this year, some say 2023. Here's the thing. If this is supposed to be so strong and so powerful that it's going to get rid of our Wi-Fi routers at home, and we're supposedly no longer going to need a Wi-Fi router, and we'll be able to get broadband streamed straight to our devices straight at home, how is this going to interfere with devices on a paranormal investigation with this stuff cooking through the air?
Well,
I mean, I'm not worried about the whole impact on the human body, because everybody says, oh my God, it's going to cook us and we're all going to die. That's what they said about television, and we're all still here. Now, how's that going to affect the paranormal investigation? And furthermore, how is that going to affect sensitives like your psychics, your mediums, your channelers, and your astral travelers?
So I'm going to let Megan field that, because Megan's done extensive research on the 5G antennas.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because there's 5G and 5GE, and basically there's different formats. I understand that with 5G, you will still need a Wi-Fi box, the router. And there is some speculation that they will backfeed, and it's called brown energy, backfeed into these boxes. And it does cause interference. It does cause, it could cause up to hallucinations, because it is such immense level of energy that people who are sensitive, people with medical devices even, will experience different fluctuations. So if you have someone with a pacemaker, or an automatic insulin, insulin, yes, the insulin pumps. So they are not, there's no Faraday protection with these. They are now making Faraday tape for things that people can use. I mean, you buy a roll of Faraday tape and you could put it on certain things. You could get it off Amazon.
Does that mean we can get Faraday? We can get Faraday tape and wrap it around our tinfoil hats?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's where I was going with insulation. So, insulate the tinfoil hat and you will be good. But, you also might want to protect the more vital parts, because it has been shown that extreme RF energy can interfere with hormones, your endocrine system, and actually alter fertility rates.
Oh, Lord, you got people walking around with Faraday underwear.
Right?
They've
Well,
already
like I
got
said, protect the important parts.
I'm safe, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
My house is pretty much a Faraday cage. You walk 5 feet from the house, the Wi-Fi no longer works. You walk 1 foot into the house, your phone no longer works.
Wow.
Like, it is a metal cage.
Right.
Don't click your heels together, Cole.
No.
I tell you what,
Yeah.
then. With, Cole, with you running everything, your DJ services and stuff like that, certainly, too, you've had to have some ideas with the equipment you have. I'd like to hear some about that, too, because being a radio nerd, ham radio, I'm deep into stuff like that. So what you got, boss?
Well, so when you're running any large pieces of sound equipment, there is something you always want to run. And everyone has the regular surge protector bars.
Mm-hmm.
So those are great and everything, but they will stop a surge of power. They will not stop a surge of radio waves, because radio waves can transfer through your plugs.
Oh, yes.
So when you have fluorescent bulbs in a building, even though they don't send the surges that they do put out through to the other parts of the building in the electrical, they do still send out the radio waves that they create. Those radio waves we use, unfortunately the name of it is evading me right now, but it is pretty much a radio wave blocker, and it is a very, very expensive surge protector. I know mine personally, it has 8 plugs, and it cost me $190. So what this does is it actually stops the backfeeding sound that those lights will create from coming through your speakers.
So that's awesome, because actually, if you have anything you got to have plugged in, that might help with any sounds that could come through your camera or your microphones. That's great.
Well, yeah, it's harder with cameras because every camera nowadays is not, you don't plug them in. They're all battery operated.
Mm.
I want to backtrack real quick, because what I wanted to bring on the show tonight as well is, do we really need technology to do what we do? It's nice. It's great if you're into the evidence side. It's needed. It's necessary if all you're after is evidence. That's where technology is of the utmost importance. I get that. But when it comes to the emergency response side, our team doesn't really have to have technology.
No, not at all.
Triage and not to be able to help the clients. You're absolutely right when it comes to that. It's really tricky, Coop, because, okay, for evidence you gather the EVP, the picture, and everybody. And I want to say something right now to everybody listening here. I want you to do a little experiment, and it's going to require 2 people and a ball of paper. I want one of you to be walking around the room with your cell phone in the pocket. You have to circle the room. The other one has to have a ball of paper. You're going to take that ball of paper, and without telling the person who has a cell phone in their pocket, you're going to throw that ball of paper at them. Even if they're expecting it, they're not going to be able to whip out their phone and take a picture of that ball of paper quick enough.
No.
And that's exactly the problem we have if we see, for example, a Bigfoot, an alien, any type of anomaly, and we see it, and someone's, quick, get your camera, take a picture. That's the problem we face. But for those of us, and I don't name clients on the air, but there's someone who posted the picture of what they saw on their security camera.
Right.
And I couldn't see it clearly, but that was a familiar shape to that being based on what's been in this house. I will tell you that right now. Based on what's been in this house, based on what's messed with my family, that's there.
And I'm going to tell you right now, you hit the nail on the head, but we can't talk about that. But you're absolutely right as to what that was, and Megan can tell you that too.
Yes.
But on that, a couple points. I think the best evidence when it comes to cameras you're going to get is the security camera and is the game cam. Because let's talk about Bigfoot for a real quick second. So we've all heard the many stories about the people that put game cams up. Not necessarily to catch Bigfoot. Some of them don't even try to catch Bigfoot. They just accidentally, wow, what was that noise and why is the camera going white? Other ones, other Bigfooters will actually take game cams out. But what's funny about Bigfoot is the actual, what I call valid evidence, is the cameras that you'll have out in the mountains, and they'll go white. You've already seen the deer and the coyotes and whatnot, and they'll come up to the camera, and they'll leave. But also the camera's going white, and they'll hear like primate noises or grunts or sometimes screams, and then the camera goes back to normal. It wasn't a glitch in the camera. It wasn't a glitch in technology, because the camera went back to normal. It's only acting, going white when Bigfoot is around, which is why I firmly believe Bigfoot's interdimensional. So game cams and security cams, I think, lead the best evidence, because they're always stationary, they're always running. You have to ask, unless somebody, and I have a rule of thumb. So we have pictures that go up in FMP all the time. Do you see what I see? And one, I wasn't there when they took the picture. So I don't know if they were told to take a picture. I don't know if they had the inclination or felt like they needed to take a picture. So who am I to say there's nothing there? But I have a rule of thumb. I'll look at a camera. Don't circle what you think you see, because that's leading. If I can't see it in 10 seconds, then I'm going to say I don't see it. Doesn't mean it's not there.
About 40. But
well, yeah.
For me, it's about 40 seconds.
Yeah. But if I stare at your picture for more than 10 seconds, then I am going to say it's probably pareidolia. And that's where your mind makes you think you see things. Your brain plays tricks on you, essentially. But I think too many people jump on the pareidolia bandwagon. Oh my God, there's nothing there. And that's, the sad reality. But, and we won't even go into the orb discussion. We won't. That just gets speed up too much.
Yeah, that can be dust. That can be something else. But,
Insects.
But it's the same exact thing with a picture as it is with an EVP. Really. Because you're faced with a problem. I see people putting their EVPs up online. They're all over YouTube. They get tons of views. And they'll say, okay, at 3 minutes and 55, you're going to hear it say, who's there? At 4 minutes and 10, you're going to say, it's Karen. And then at 5 minutes and 15, it's like, is the pizza ready? Do not tell me what you think you hear.
No.
Save that for the comment section. Now, I may have trouble hearing right what it is with my ear for, ham radio and stuff like that, not so much. But if you want to feel free to tell me, okay, at about 25 seconds in, you're going to hear something, I'm going to listen over and over and over.
And eventually,
but I'm not going to tell you what I think I hear until you ask me.
If you listen to it over and over and over again, eventually you are going to hear it.
Yes. Yes, but don't get it through the power of suggestion.
Right.
It's exactly. Like, when I catch you, and this is what an EVP does, I'm going to do something right now. It's a non-copyrighted song, so I can do it on the air. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you the feeling that at least I get when I'm trying to listen to an EVP. You're trying to hear familiarity. So if I sing Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star wrong, it's going to throw you off and it's going to drive you nuts. And that's when you get an earworm. Twinkle, twinkle, little train.
Right.
And it's anticlimactic. That little drop you might have felt in your gut, or that slightly annoyed feeling, your brain is telling you that you didn't hear something that you should have heard. And so it's, like trying to hear long-distance contacts on ham radio. I got to do the same thing. I may be hearing something where I'm hearing every other word, and I got to pick that out. But don't get discouraged.
And that goes to cultural conditioning, because you didn't hear star, You heard train. It's going to throw your brain off. But we all know, you know, the nursery rhyme. So if we don't hear star, then obviously, well, something was off.
Yeah, I just think you're nuts if you do that.
Well, yeah, that too. So we're talking EVPs and cameras for this first hour. We'll start talking a little more about EMF and proximity meters and things like that in the second hour. And other stuff, obviously.
Just quick for Seth. Seth, what I use, it's called a power conditioner.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Definitely on my Christmas list.
For my exact model is a Furman, and they run at about 200.
And a lot of people might say that's pricey, but when it comes to protecting your stuff, no, it isn't.
And not just protecting your stuff, but I mean technology in general is pricey. That just goes without saying. Especially the high tech stuff, the higher the tech. You know, my full spectrum camera, full spectrum cameras can run from a couple hundred to a couple thousand. And it really boils down to, I think, the name, the brand. Because, you know, I've got a full spectrum that is a generic brand that I got for $189 that came with two lenses. It came with a battery, two batteries, a battery charger. It came with a 128 gigabyte card, and it was $189. It even came with a, you know, wireless, the whole 9 yards. And so what's full spectrum? I know we're going to get asked that. Full spectrum to me is, it's got night vision. I can zoom. It's got, you know, all modes. Is there anything more to full spectrum that I'm missing, Megan?
Some have UV option where you will actually cast a purple light instead of like a flash or infrared. And those are really good about picking up shadows with the UV spectrum.
Right.
Those are on the higher end. Not all full spectrums have UV option. I would highly recommend it if you could afford it. It's definitely not an entry-level device.
Right. That's why I said they run from a couple hundred to a couple thousand easily.
Yep.
And that is true, because some of the ones that and you know, my vision sucks. I have glaucoma and ROP. So visually, when anybody tries to tell me, hey, look at this, I'm kind of like, let someone else do it. Yeah. But with the purple light that's cast and some of the things that I've seen, I mean, either there's some real convincing stuff or some really good fakes. With that purple light, it actually does make a good difference. And if I were filming, which I don't concentrate on visuals. I don't have to see what's already there. But, you know, for people that need that, I think that's the best way to go, is a full spectrum camera.
Exactly. I want to shift. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you remember a while back, I asked your opinion, I forget the guy's name, but it was a YouTuber who claimed that his house was haunted. He moved out of his house, had a new apartment, but he's got his camera on, and there's no jump cuts. It's all straight footage. The dude and his cupboards are flying open, and he has chairs moving across the room and stuff like that. The dude says he's been haunted. Mm-hmm. I forget his name. I'd have to have my wife. But if you remember me linking that to you, I don't know if you got a chance to see it and what your opinion of it was.
I honestly don't remember. You
got
to understand, we do 3 to 4 cases roughly a day, and that was a while ago. While I'm on it, I'll have to go back and look again. Because I know if you send it to me a private message, then I just got to scroll up way back and I'll find it.
A couple years.
Oh, never mind. Megan,
Yes.
Go into spirit boxes a little bit, because you've got the SP7. I'm going to butcher it, I know.
Well, no, yeah, you're close. It's the PSB7.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
There you go.
I got it very affordably. It is an entry-level device. It is I have a two-part system just for ease of use. It comes with the PSB7 Spirit Box, which is basically the scanner. I can plug headphones into it, or I can plug in a Bluetooth speaker. And I prefer the Bluetooth speaker because a lot of times when I do boots on the ground, I prefer to have the client observe or listen or even interact with this if it is becoming active. Now, I have it out on my countertop right now, but because of the way that I shield my house and myself, I know if I turn it on, we're not going to get anything. So I could simply go outside if we do want to do a spirit box session and see if we could get anything. Basically, you power on the spirit box after you put some fresh batteries into it, and you can have an adjustable sweep rate. You can sweep forward or you can sweep backwards, and you can change it from AM to FM, so you can toggle all of that. And I like to use a slower sweep rate, but even with the faster ones, you can still catch snippets of words. So like I said, because I shield my house in a particular way, nothing can come in unless I welcome it. And I really don't want to welcome anything into my house, so I'm not going to, ask spirits to come in and then turn this thing on just, for an example. But I will happily go outside. I can turn this thing on. I would caution our listeners to just kind of take a deep breath and, shield themselves, because I believe that electronic phenomena can attach if you are open and willing to it. So, like I said, mine is a two-part system. I have the external speaker, which amplifies the sound. It is basically sweeping the radio frequencies, and you get a chopped up. It is basically generating white noise. And from that, a spirit, an entity, I have even heard Sasquatch has manipulated this because he is dimensional. Bill Hauser is the one that can confirm that. That is his story. I myself have never channeled Bigfoot through this. So, but I have channeled spirits. And Eric, you were with me on that boots on the ground case where this thing would not shut up.
Oh, yeah. And I will say, I have also heard alien or off-world come through spirit boxes. I have personally heard that. And that was actually through a fairly famous spirit box person. I'm trying to think how you would explain them. On Facebook. She goes and does Facebook Lives and does spirit box sessions. And it's funny because, I'm not saying any names, but I heard, we're above come through her spirit box, and she was using the executioner's box. And I sent her a message and said, so what I heard was actually an off-world, was an alien. And from their description, they're above your house right now. And she sent me a private message and said, "Oh my God, you need to stop now because I've got a story for you." And so, confirmation there. She actually knew or had UFO experiences before, and so they were confirming that they were actually still there. So yes, off-world or aliens can actually come through spirit boxes as well. It's basically just an open channel. So, like Megan says, if you are using a spirit box or any kind of EVP device, I don't care how much protection you think you need. If you're a paranormal investigator, you need to keep yourself protected because they can come through, and they can come through your computer. They can come through your phone, and they can attach to you.
Absolutely.
The movie The Ghost in the Machine comes to mind.
White Noise. The movie White Noise comes to mind.
Well, yeah,
Exactly.
that too.
And
Poltergeist for the TV.
in May, we're actually going to be talking about do movies and does the media and the media's portrayal of the paranormal aliens. I haven't really seen any Bigfoot movies in Hollywood.
There's a new one.
Is there?
Yes.
I'm going to have to check it out.
It's on Netflix. Bigfoot versus the Earth. Sasquatch versus the aliens.
Oh boy.
It's really high budget, They
Uh-huh.
spent at least $10 on that production.
Oh wow.
There's Stephen Greer in it.
So there's not going to be any valid facts to that. But what we're going to look at in May, and I do have my schedule here. I want to throw this out real quick. Next week we are doing roundtable, and then we're flip flopping a little bit because usually roundtables last the last Saturday of the month, but the last Saturday, which is the 30th, we have Butch Wachowski coming on from UFO Cop. And we're talking...
That's going to be amazing.
Well, we're talking straight cryptids. And I don't want to hear so much about Bigfoot as I want to pick his brain about Dogman and Goatman and whatever, the other stuff we don't hear about. Because we talk Bigfoot here all the time. I want to hear...
Well, yeah, he's our neighbor.
Well, yeah, he's in my backyard. He knocks at me.
Exactly.
And I wave at him.
You gotta let him go. Eric, let him go.
So yeah, we're gonna wrap up the month, and S4 for the last 2.5 years has talked a lot of conspiracy, a lot of UFO, a lot of alien, and we haven't talked about paranormal so much, which is why this month was a very heavy paranormal oriented month. But in April, never mind, I'm skipping a month here. April 6th, I'm going to go over that real quick. We're talking religion and its influence on the paranormal. I'm not sparking debate here. We're just going to talk about the religious influence. Is everything a demon? You look at religion and everything's a demon. You look at some religions and they look at aliens. Look at the Vatican. We're going to bring up religion. The Bible talks about UFOs. The Torah talks about UFOs. The Quran talks about UFOs. So we're going to look at all the religious aspects and how they've influenced or historically recorded paranormal events. Because it can go either way. Do you think religion influences or do you think religion documents? So that's going to be April 6th. April 13th, we're going to talk about Project Blue Book, the finale. Project Blue Book, the first season is over. How was it? So that's going to be April 13th. April 20th, we're doing Roundtable, again reversed, but that's okay. April 27th, we're talking Nazis and the supernatural, from the occult to UFOs, secret projects, and more. I want to, you know what? On that show, I want to hit up Paperclip. Y'all know what Paperclip was, right?
I do.
I want to talk about Paperclip.
What is Paperclip?
Paperclip is all the Nazi scientists that instead of going through the NATO tribunals, they came to America. And they
became scientists.
All the scientists that worked for the Nazis came to America, and they were influential in MK Ultra. They worked with the CIA. They worked on biohazards and terrorism. They worked at Plum Island, New York. There's one for you, Seth. Look up Plum Island.
Alrighty.
Oh, and for our listeners, I'm trying to get Jesse Ventura on the show.
Oh, man. That would be great.
Wouldn't it? I hope he's listening. But yeah, we're trying
Jesse,
to get...
buddy, if you're out there, I was a big fan as a kid. Come on, do it for me.
Oh, no.
We got to have body on S4. Come on.
I was thinking conspiracy theory. I've been watching old conspiracy theory show. I want to know what happened to the conspiracy theory. it just kind of disappeared. Did he get
I don't know, but
threatened?
he needs to come back.
He does. And of course, we're still trying to get Dan Aykroyd. He's a hard one to get. He's a hard one to track. But you know what? S4 rolls on. And in May, we're going right back into aliens again. So that's, you know, we go up and down, but every show is always awesome. We always have fun. And I always say when S4 becomes, you know, a drag to do, I'm not going to do it anymore. As long as it stays fun, we're going to keep on doing it. But this isn't a job. This is just straight fun. So, where were we? Oh, Cole.
Yes.
Let's talk about the demon box. We have
The Dubac.
we have 9 minutes
Okay.
before break.
I was scrolling through Facebook and found this video where it was on Lad Bible, which is a popular, just random video site. And it was a gentleman who opened up what he called a Dubac box. And he held EMF reader against it, and it did beep against the bottom of the box. It did detect energy there. He then put a spirit box beside it, and he did get answers to 2 of his questions. One of which was, do you want out of the box? And the other one was, will you hurt people? Both answers were yes.
Uh-huh. He's a dummy.
He then proceeded anyways to open the box, which was sealed with wax. As soon as he opened the box, it stopped beeping.
Quick question for you.
Yes.
On the wax, did you see any symbols?
If I can remember right, there are no symbols. The wax was dribbled over the top of the box and went around the edge seal.
So see, that's, to me, a valid sign. Or somebody just did their homework and, you know, did a fake box.
Your Dybbuk is a Jewish counterpart to the Jinn.
So, but there was 2 different types of wax used.
Okay.
And you can tell, like, it's they're made out of 2 different materials, not just 2 different colors of wax. But if you actually look closely at the video, and the way I did that was I used a 55-inch TV to actually zoom in, and you can actually tell that the wax has 2 different consistencies.
Okay.
As soon as he opened the box, the EMF reader stopped going off.
Well, that's because if there was something in there, it's not there now.
There was a white crystal inside.
Mm-hmm.
The EMF reader did not give anything off the crystal once the box was open, but he had a YouTube plaque, because he is a YouTuber, on his wall, which started to move, and then proceeded to fall off the wall. He then runs out of the room and says, I no longer feel safe in my house.
Well, and he bought this Dybbuk box off eBay, of all things.
Now, I actually went on eBay and searched it. You can buy these boxes, and there are hundreds of them.
Yeah. This has been an issue that FMP has been looking at for quite a few years. And there are actually, it's what I call spirit trafficking. And people will laugh, but it's not funny. It's disrespectful to spirits. It's enslaving spirits into crystals. And, they'll basically enslave a spirit or a demon or a malevolent entity, take your pick, into objects, usually crystals, because they can be trapped in crystals, and auction them off. And some gullible, I won't say gullible, because gullible implies fake, and it's not fake, but some stupid person that doesn't know what they're getting into will buy these. And like the guy on your YouTube video, whether he was fake or not, he may have been fake, it may have been staged, who knows. But going by the wax, going by the crystal, if he is fake, he did his homework. And, you know, these are people that asked for a problem, whether they deserved it or not. I would say I'll give them one chance, and if they do it again, we're not going to help you. We usually have a 3 strikes, you're out. But in those cases, I would say 2 strikes, you're out. Because if you're stupid enough to do it again, then live with it. But
well, I gotta say he should get like 1 strike and he's out, because there was a letter with the box that came in the package.
Okay.
And it did say that this is a collector's item. It is not to be opened. Please don't open it.
Oh, okay. Well then, bye-bye.
Well,
You
that's
didn't
like in the
listen to
horror
the
movie
warning.
when they say you can go in any room in the house except the room with the red door. You
Right.
know when as soon as it gets dark in the movie, someone's going in that goddamn red door.
Yeah.
Here's the thing.
No.
I got to ask you with these crystals and the spirit trafficking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, obviously, we're not made of gold. We can't go ahead and buy all these boxes off eBay and do something. But let's say you come into possession of something like that. Obviously, you're not going to open it.
Right.
But is that a guarantee that that's going to be contained? Because here's my question. You know, ahead of time, you're going to be talking about the effects of religion and the paranormal and whether or not it documented it or whether or not it goads it. Okay. Let's say you have someone who is an atheist or whatever. They just don't believe in anything. Is this spiritual business where there may be a Christian writing, a pagan writing, Muslim writing, whatever on there? Is that really going to affect them in any way? Is that going to make them more susceptible to that energy quite possibly being able to seep out of that box and out of that crystal and cause harm? And the reason I ask you this is because I've heard people are starting to store alternative energies into the tritium crystals.
Mm-hmm. Now, if they did it properly and they actually did a containment spell or a containment ritual, then yeah, it's sealed until they break the seal. But with that being said, you don't have to believe in demons, but demons do believe in you. So in those cases, it really doesn't matter. Depending on what kind of an entity that they captured and contained, you know. But just like you know the guy that Cole was talking about. I would have to say the process of thought and the expectation of thought or expectation of something happening probably played a role in this particular case. But yeah.
Yeah, he came through as as a complete skeptic in the beginning. Like he said he didn't believe that it was in there. That was the reason he was opening it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, we're 2 minutes away from the top of the hour. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and when we come back, we'll wrap up spirit boxes, cameras. We talked a little bit about cameras. We might touch cameras a little bit more. But I want to start touching EMF meters and radiation meters because we are talking off-worlders as well. So stay tuned, enjoy the commercials, and we'll be right back.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI Team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro.
This is a message from S4 and Forest Moon Paranormal. To all of our listeners out there, this season is a time filled with love, laughter, and cheer, no matter what you are celebrating. With that in mind, please keep safe and have a happy holidays from our home to yours.
Have you always wanted your company or organization advertised on the radio, but thought it was too expensive or wouldn't reach enough customers? Let S4 be your platform for your radio advertisement needs. Now accepting advertisements and promos for the 2019 year. Contact us at 360-999-2830 for more information and pricing, or check out our website at www.s-4radio.com.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Welcome back to S4. So tonight we're talking paranormal tech. Is it necessary? And what kind of tech is out there? So you can also find the archives or a Spreaker site, www.s-4radio.com, and on the S4 YouTube channel. Just look for S-4 for all the shows you missed in the last 2.5 years. Anyway, back to the show. And folks, so we got something special for you tonight. Megan is actually setting up her spirit box. She has to go off her property to actually get a reading because, well, her property, like FMP headquarters, is a sanctuary. We are completely shielded. We have to be for the work we do. So she is getting set up off her property so we can actually possibly get a spirit communication. So with that being said, I've got to throw this disclaimer out. If you're listening, it is an open channel, so I do suggest you do some form of protection before you listen. So, are you with us, Megan?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So,
Oh, yeah. No, I'm out here at the top of my driveway.
So go into a little bit about what they can expect, what we're going to do, and what kind of a spirit box you're using.
Okay, so I am using the PSB7 spirit box, and I bought mine off Amazon. There was a discount rate, like 10-20% going on. I upgraded my spirit box, which is just a little handheld. It's probably about 3 inches tall and 1.5 inches wide, little frequency scanner that scans AM or FM. It's up to me to toggle the button back and forth. I can sweep forward or I can sweep in reverse. I can also manipulate the sweep rate of the channel manipulation, and what it will do is it will go through all available frequencies that is broadcast on the radio. I can listen to this thing for hours and not catch a single word inside my house. So it's not like a radio. It's not used for like emergency purposes where, in case of, a natural disaster in my area, I can't just program in a channel and listen to it. It does not work like that. It is designed to sweep frequencies and therefore generate white noise from those frequencies that a spirit can manipulate. So again, I have a 2-part kit that I ordered off Amazon. It is the little receiver, and then I have an external speaker, which I will be using tonight. It connects through a cord, and, I just got to power everything on. And, like I said, I'm off my property. I'm up here pretty much in the road, so hopefully I'm outside of my shields. But
watch for cars.
Oh, yeah. No, well, I'm hiding behind a snow berm, so I'm good.
I'm curious. Let's try an experiment tonight. You have a Bigfoot gifting site on your property.
Yes,
but
I do.
Let's see, with all the Bigfoot activity that's around your house, if we can actually talk to Bigfoot.
Talk to Bigfoot?
Yeah.
We can ask Sasquatch to come in?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've got it on... Oops. Hold on. I'm changing the sweep rate. Okay. So we're going to go with a faster rate. And basically, I've got it sweeping forward through FM frequencies. So I'm going to change my phone to speaker and put the phone right next to it. So that is the noise that this spirit box generates. And again, it is just purely white noise. It is up to the spirit to come in and manipulate this in order to say words. Sometimes I get single words. Sometimes it is sentences.
And
so I will
just to throw this out there, if any of our listeners are in the chat room want to ask a question, I know Dave's done it on Space.Radio with Bill Hauser, but we can try see if anything comes through on the spirit box from your questions.
Yep, nope, I've got the speaker chat up, so if somebody wants to direct a question to the spirit box, go ahead and ask. So, here we go. So is there anything or anyone that would like to come through? So that was interesting. There was 2 blasts.
I heard that, and it sounded like a voice was trying to come through, but it wasn't quite coming through.
Okay. So I will adjust the sweep rate. So it's slowing down now. So is there anyone that would like to come through? Oh, I got a hi.
And I gotta say, this is the same spirit box that I have actually heard when Megan and I were at a client's house that was talking nonstop.
Yep. It was a family member that was coming through to the client, and he was extremely chatty. So, Eric, you get to see a slow night with this thing.
Oh, it's common.
Okay, so
it's common.
Yeah, I have increased the sweep rate to see if maybe we can, maybe it needed a higher energy to come through. So I will ask again if there is anybody or anything that would like to come through and speak with us. Is there anyone here that would like to speak with us? Is there a name that you would like to be known? Is there a Sasquatch in the area? Is there any off-worlders with a message for us?
I get kind of nervous when it stops.
Right, it did stop. That's interesting. So, anyway, I don't think anybody is right. I don't think anybody is overly chatty tonight. Either that or my shields go all the way out to the road. I'm not sure.
And that's a good possibility.
Okay, this is your last chance. Is there anybody that would like to come through? Oh, okay. I think that's it. So I'll power off.
So Craig is asking, not many radio stations in the area. No, there's not. We're in the mountains. The only station we have is 90.1, and that's the station that airs S4, actually. And in fact, the pre-record of S4 just went off the air. But, no, we're in the mountains. But what's interesting about where Megan is we do have Jim Creek in the area. And Jim Creek is a Navy submarine communications base. So that could also influence a box. And Joe is saying the spirits are watching Netflix. And they probably are. And they're sharpening their pointy sticks.
It is Saturday night.
It is. But that is a basic spirit box, folks, for those that have never heard one. And again, if you're going to use a spirit box, always make sure you're shielded. Make sure you're using protection. And you never hold it. You put it down. If you're holding it, you're subject to manipulating it. So you always put it on the ground or on a piece of furniture and step away from it so you're not actually influencing it.
Does it always stop?
No.
Or slow down when they talk?
So those little breaks.
It'll go.
Yeah, no, sometimes we get words. Sometimes there's like a background noise that will try to come through. I'm guessing what was trying to come through, because I noticed 2 pops audibly, and then there were 2 or 3 breaks. I'm guessing whatever was coming through was not strong enough to actually generate a word. And that could have multiple factors. Maybe I wasn't, as receptive as I should have been, because it's cold outside. There was 4 feet of snow in my yard, whatever circumstances. I'm close to the road, hoping not, that a car won't pass. But, and plus my shields. I mean,
they're cold.
As a member of FMP, we really do try to focus on our own protective measures. Because I astral, my shields have to be really elaborate. So it could be a combination of that, or I could have been dealing with a child spirit that wasn't strong enough to come through.
Well, what I noticed too is it was almost like a tone. It almost toned 2 different times.
Yeah.
When you ask about the off-worlders. Now, Joe is wondering if the military picks up spirits on all their fancy schmancy equipment. And they probably do. but you won't hear about it. It's classified.
So you will get garble on audible transmissions. However, like radar won't pick up like spirit activity. We do ground test flight radars, and it's been proven. That's the system I used to work on. We never could replicate a human form on radar.
What about sonar systems?
I did not work sonar, but sonar has the same principles as ground. Craft, yes. USOs, UFOs, yes. Audible or visible on radar. It's really interesting because a lot of sounds do carry through water, but a sonar won't pick up an audible sound. However, there are sound devices that will pick up underwater sounds from miles and miles away. So you have to rule those out. As far as like human shadow type things actually being picked up on radar, that has not been able to be replicated or proven.
And real quick, for any new listeners that popped in, a USO is an unidentified submergible object. And we've actually, these are craft that come and go in and out of the ocean that have been witnessed by Navy vessels. They've been seen going up rivers. They've been seen in lakes. So water, fresh and salt water doesn't have an influence. These craft are coming and going from water, whether it's a lake or up a river or in the ocean. And we have, there's enough witnesses that have seen these craft. Like I said, Navy vessels have seen craft in lights underneath the water. There weren't submarines. There wasn't supposed to be anything in the area. It was unidentified lights. So that's what a USO is. Now, let's shift gears and talk about EMF. Now, EMF meter is an electromagnetic frequency meter. It picks up electromagnetic frequency, and it's oftentimes manipulated by old wiring in houses, just to go into the mundane. I had a case here locally, just down the road, that there were orbs that were seen dancing up and down the road. So we went in the field, and we were looking for any kind of trace energy. And I kept getting a high EMF reading. Well, the higher I raised my meter, it turns out it was coming from a transformer box. Now, I'm 100 feet away. I shouldn't have energy from a transformer box from that distance. So it was either a malfunctioning transformer box, or there was something that was pulling energy from it, which is a possibility, and that could be why there were orbs jumping up and down the road at night. And it could have been off-world, it could have been fae, it could have been spirit. We never did have a resolution to that case. But what's the difference? And I have an experiment I want to try this summer when we actually start doing our expeditions up in the mountains. I want to see if Bigfoot will actually, set off an EMF meter. Now, when you're talking about different tech, with UFO landing cases, we need to get an actual old-time Army radiation meter. Because UFO landing cases are going to bring trace radiation. Different than what electromagnetic radiation is. You got anything to add to that, Megan? Seth?
Sorry, muted. Go figure. So as far as the surplus, I think that is the best avenue to obtain, like, a Geiger counter.
Yeah, that's what we need.
It might need a calibration. However, that is, like, the best, because everything has a lifetime in the military. So once that thing is, the device is 10 or 15 years old, they will retire it, and it ends up going to a surplus store. And that is where the public can capitalize on it and obtain something that is a very, very worth the money device. Because the ones... I was just going to say the ones online aren't as... I mean, really, it's worth the money to go get them from the surplus store.
Okay, but what about the online surplus stores that claim that all their stuff is from the U.S. Army?
Well, you would have to vet the surplus store, but most of them
that
you could walk into...
Go ahead.
Oh, well, most of the surplus stores, like there is one here locally down in Spanaway. It's huge. It's like a Walmart-sized surplus store. You can walk in there and you can pick from 20, 30 Geiger counters. It is worth it. You might need to have the device calibrated, but if you could walk into a brick-and-mortar store, I mean, yes, it is actual Army-issued gear. I'm not sure about the ones online. You might have to read the reviews, do the research, vet the venue themselves, or for yourself.
The reason I'm asking
is
because I found places online that they are claiming to be Army surplus,
and
they seem to have all the right insignia, but that can be faked, obviously.
Yeah.
But they're selling them for $30. But they are devices from the 70s and 60s.
Yeah.
And those are valid. But I think to vet them, if you got in good with someone that worked at the hospital, worked on X-ray, you'd be able to vet you'd be able to vet the Geiger counter from the hospital staff, and two, probably have them calibrated by their tech.
Okay.
Just some thoughts. Because, we do need a couple Geiger counters. Now, what I have also is I got it in Iraq. We were issued them in Iraq. And it looks like a black watch. And all it is a one-time use radiation alarm.
Yeah.
I've never been able to test it out. Obviously, I wouldn't want to. But it stays in my pack. And again, it's a one-time use. Once it gets radiation and screams at you, you have to throw it away. It's not going to scream anymore. But they only run, the Army only paid $9 for them, because I actually looked them up. So they're cheap. They're probably not easy to get, but they're probably achievable to get. So something we might want to look at for the team, as far as, just have everyone wear one. So if we're walking around a UFO crop circle or a UFO landing site and our meters start screaming, or our alarms start screaming, we're going to pull out and, we've got something. There you go. But, so, Geiger counter, EMF, both different ranges. They are both different kinds of radiation. I've heard two different stories about electromagnetic radiation, though. One, that if you have a high enough absorption to EMF, it can cause hallucinations. I've heard other studies that say EMF is harmless and won't cause any damage. What have you heard?
It can fry your eggs. You look at the people, I don't know if we plug other shows on here, so I'm not going to mention the person's name. It's a host of a prominent show out there out west, and his family were the downwinders in Utah that were downwind of the radiation testing and stuff like that. And he's had several tumors cut off of himself and other different health issues and things, and noted DNA mutations in his DNA as a result of being a descendant of the generation of downwinders. And if you'd ever heard of Erin Brockovich, I know there's a movie made about her.
Oh, yeah.
But she actually, did some work regarding that and the effects of radiation on people.
Yeah.
So
Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying she was very, in terms of dealing with the EPA and things like that and fighting harmful situations for citizens. One of those instances was a town where they were exposed to radiation.
And that was a.
Go ahead.
Wasn't Julia Roberts actually portraying
Yes.
Erin Brockovich in the movie?
Yeah, she played her. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that dealt with chromium in the water.
Right.
Yes.
So the real Erin Brockovich actually did a lot more.
Right.
Yes, way more.
They couldn't cover all of it in a 2-hour movie, though.
No, they concentrated on one part of her story
Exactly.
that she did really well on, and she did it so much more that there is no way when they do a story like that on someone that they can cover everything. So they have to concentrate on one part.
Exactly. And what they covered though was a phenomenal movie. Love that movie. But I like the fact that she's bringing, studying the radiation side, not just the chromium.
If you can get a hold of some testing equipment too, for example, like the FCC has field strength generators,
Mm-hmm.
and you can also get a spectrum analyzer for RF, because RF, radio frequency, you actually, when you're transmitting anything, you're putting out a form of radiation.
Yes, thank you. I was going to mention RF.
Yes, that's why, Eric, the Baofeng radios that we have the same exact model. When you turn that up to high power, for example,
Right.
you should not be operating that handheld once it is at high power anymore. When that is at that 8-watt high power, you need to have a speaker microphone with that, because that's close enough to your head, and it always drives me nuts when I see on TV the people holding the handy-talkies to their ear like a phone.
Right.
And they're transmitting, I know they're not really talking into it, but if they were, they're transmitting it straight into their head. And
Right.
You can really damage some stuff. And if you want to test it, aim that antenna at arm's length. Aim it at a little light bulb. You may get a very interesting result. I know I had a friend, he was an amateur radio operator. He was a general class. He's passed away. And he actually got in trouble. The FCC knocked on his door because every time he went to transmit at a certain time in the middle of the night, he was blowing streetlights.
Right.
So it's there. You have to be careful. So the military grade is actually the best way to go, like you guys are saying, because in my own experience, a lot of the old-time hams, most of the radio equipment, testing, everything has been recycled military equipment because of its longevity, because of the fact that for most of the time it's been well maintained and taken care of.
Oh, yeah.
And you can't go wrong. So with that being said, I'm going to ask you guys, I know on the program you're not necessarily endorsing a certain product or anything like that, but in your own experiences, what do you think if someone can't get a hold of, if they can't get a hold of the military grade, what's the next step that is pretty reliable and accurate?
Military grade.
Well, for the price, I mean, it's so easy to go to a surplus store, even with paying for calibration, because the ones that are sold on Amazon have this little wand, and the field that they pick up is not as large as with a military grade. So, I mean, I don't know, we field tested some military grade stuff when I was still in, and that's what I know, that's what I'm going to go to. I have looked, I've scoured the internet with the ones with the little wands, and they're all digital, and they're easy to read. The reviews seem pretty good. If I had to, I would pick one of the better reviewed ones, and hope that they were honest reviews. But again, do your research before you buy your devices.
Totally agree.
For Geiger counters, I definitely am military grade.
Yeah, they're made for combat. They're made for keeping soldiers safe. So they're definitely the best.
And
best
most
you're gonna get.
Most are field tested, but rarely used.
Right, and they are maintained. I mean, they're maintained in our MBC rooms, which is nuclear, biological, chemical, and the MBC specialists are the ones that maintain them, and they inspect them and test them at least monthly.
Yes. We got PMs.
Right.
PMs on them for our calibration shop, and PM stands for periodic maintenance, and it depends how frequently they're used, how frequently they are tested. Sometimes it's a 1 month rotation, sometimes it's 3 months.
Yeah.
But they are checked, and they even refill the gas in the gauge, so they are maintained. But like I said earlier, the Army, the Marine Corps, whatever branch has these and are sending them to a surplus depot for public use. They are maintained. Some of them probably haven't even been used, but because military standards have to upkeep the PMs, the periodic maintenance, you're not buying something that's broke. It's not going to be Art Deco type wall ornament. So
exactly.
If you can find it, get it.
and Joe's in the chat room. He says military grade pointy sticks. Well, those would be swords.
Marines call them sabers, because we're cool.
Those would be military grade pointy sticks. And yes, we do have them. At least I have them. And I'm pretty sure Megan's got a saber.
Oh yeah. Well, hey, if I put glow sticks on them, does it make it a lightsaber? Oh. That's a high-tech pointy stick.
Oh. And now Robert's also saying power line will increase the EMF near home, and that's been an issue for years. I agree. Usually if I walk into... So, I'm going to go on a limb here and say, there's apps out there you can get for free that are EMF meters. And again, apps, I don't hold a lot of credence to them, but again, you look at the research, you look at the historical records of the location. If you're getting a high EMF reading in a certain room of the house where the family says the most activity's been going on in, that's a form of validation. But first of all, before you go into any case or any location that you suspect is haunted, you get a baseline reading. So the particular app we were using, I also have a standalone EMF meter, but the app we were using, the baseline was a 59. That was anywhere you went. Now I'm gonna say Markham, our scientist, when he was in our house, as a scientist, was in shock. Because his EMF meter, which is normally a 59, or he had his own baseline, was a 0. And same with Megan. Same with Megan's house. Our homes are sanctuaries. Our homes are secure. There's no spirits here. We have Bigfoot, but Bigfoot is welcome. Like you can stop them anyway. But when it comes to spirits, they can't come on this property. They're shielded. We are shielded. So he was sitting at my kitchen table here and looking at his EMF meter. And he was asking me, why is my EMF meter a 0? And I looked at him and laughed. And I said, well, you're inside a sanctuary shield. There's nothing here. There is no reading. If you do get a reading, I'd be looking at power. If we go into an older home, I'd be looking at electrical issues, first and foremost. or any high energy battery. You know, some of these LED lanterns and lights have high energy batteries. So your EMF meter is going to actually go to a higher reading wherever your energy source is, whether it's a spirit or an entity, or whether it's a high energy battery.
Power bricks.
Power breakers, exactly. Light switches. You know, if you have faulty wiring, it's going to point to where the high energy is. Just like when we were in the field as a transformer box. So that's EMF.
Battery backups are a big one.
Oh,
Battery
yes.
backups.
Yeah, it's so if you lose power, you have enough time to actually shut down your computer systems.
Okay.
For those ones carry a high EMF.
Now, let's talk about some toys that and like I said, FMP doesn't need toys. We don't have to have them for our mission.
But they make it fun.
They're fun. And they're fun. They are. And what I want to get is a proximity meter. Now, the one that we're looking at is $79. And Mike Moran actually introduced from the Ghost Crew of Canada, Haunted Crew of Canada. And he's got all the toys. He was trying to be on the show tonight to talk about his toys, but he had to work. And Jeff, the other guy on his team, couldn't make it. But that's okay. We know enough about tech that we're having fun anyway. But his proximity meter is made for kids. It's got two settings. It's got the adult setting and it's got the kid setting. And we tested this particular proximity meter out when we were at the Spaced Out Radio Paracon last year. And we went to the Heritage Museum, and it was known that there was a woman spirit and her child spirit in this cabin. I can't remember the exact name of the house or the building that we were in, but I put like any tool, you do not hold them. That's how you interfere with them. You put them on the floor, or you put them on furniture. And it was cool because the little boy, and I believe, I can't remember how old he said he was when he died, but when the setting that you have for the children, it makes like a lullaby song. So when a kid's touching it, it's playing this music. And you could almost picture this, but it's almost like the kid was grabbing it like every 3 seconds because it was going off every 3 seconds. And I was laughing because, there's a child spirit playing with the proximity meter, and it kept on going off. And finally, it's like 10 o'clock at night, and the woman that was running the tour said, "Okay, Mary," or whatever the spirit's name was, "it's time for your kid to go to bed. We know it's 10 o'clock. It's his bedtime." And sure enough, when she told the female spirit that she could put her child to bed, no more. The proximity meter went quiet. So, you talk about validation with technology. It's kind of cool to see when we actually watch it in action. Anymore. So have you ever played with a proximity meter, Megan?
She's muted.
Megan.
I have zero experience with one myself. Zero.
I've never heard of them until Mike was we were playing with Mike's toys. We went to Northern State to the dairy farm and played with his Paranormal puck. And the Paranormal puck, I think it runs $250, and it looks just like a hockey puck. And it's got all your baseline settings. It runs off Bluetooth, so it is manipulatable like any other tech. But again, if you know the history, and I know I sound like a broken record, but if you know the history, if you know what spirits might be there or their names, your technology is going to tell you that. It's going to validate it. So the perfect case I've seen this happen that I always talk about happened here locally. And we walked through the house. We had very high EMF readings focused on the attic. We went out. We had Astral come in. And Astral called back and they said, wow. So in the attic, there is this creature that I can't even begin to describe. It looks like a gorilla with very large fangs. What do we do? And I told them, remove it. And we went back in 20 minutes later after they cleared it, and all EMF readings were back to baseline. All the way through the house and to the attic. That is validation. That's what you want to see. And the final validation is when the client comes back and says, oh my God, the house has never been this quiet. And they finally get sleep. They finally feel like their home is theirs again. So that's where Megan went. Megan dropped. Let me call her back in. So, Seth, what is your favorite technology? What is your favorite toy?
My favorite toy paranormally? Well, honestly, let's see. That's a toughie. I would honestly have to say that my favorite would be the SDR dongle. And if you want to check out the uses for that, you can go to rtl-sdr.com. And the reason why is because you can have a house full of screaming, talking people, and you can have a recording and still have a session and catch EVPs. It's for someone who wants to catch it at any time of the day. I mean, imagine like, okay, you're in the middle of New York City, for example. You're walking down the street. It's loud. It's New York frickin' City. You're not going to really be able to take a digital recorder and catch an EVP and think about it. You're going to be skeptical of it, even if you do hear something, because there's so many people and so many noises.
Yeah.
Being able to drown out the human voice and still have a recording session is a wonderful thing. And that's why that's my favorite. Now, I'm interested in this dude coming on talking about the drones. Because really, I want to see, for example, if he has that drone and he's up in the air, can he take this Geiger counter, military-grade Geiger counter, up in the air and see how high radiation, let's say you find a landing site, Eric, is he going to be able to take that up in the air and see actually how high in the air the radiation goes and compare that to things that we actually have on the ground for us? That's one thing I'm curious about.
Well, and most definitely. And, you know, that's why I like having him on the team. That's why I love having a drone on the team, because it does two things. One, it's going to pick up Bigfoot. It's going to pick up, you know, anything paranormal around. And two, it keeps eyes in the sky so the team stays safe. That's the main thing. You know, if he's got his camera and his eyes in the sky and he sees an alien entity and it's coming our way, he can, you know, let me know, hey, we got something about 100 feet to our 3 o'clock and we need to pull back. Get your weapons out. And yes, if we're in the mountains, we do have weapons and we will have weapons. Hands down. But, you know, having eyes in the sky is paramount to our safety.
Yes.
So yeah, when he comes on, we're going to talk drone operations for the last hour.
Not only that, but looking at crop circle from the ground just looks like a bad harvest year. Whereas if you have a drone,
I agree.
You can actually see what it is.
And the thing is, how many crop circles do we not know about or not see because they're up in the mountains? I had a case in North Carolina probably about 6 or 7 years ago now, where, and you know, before Steve came on, I had to use Google Earth. Well, Google Earth, unless you're a paid subscriber, is only, what do they go back, 6 years? You have like 6 years that you can see pictures of. And the particular case that we were looking at, there was a kid that came out of a cabin and disappeared. And they found his shirt, and it was almost like he got pulled down through the porch.
Wow.
And I think, again, it was 6 or 7 years ago. I don't remember all the details. But I do remember I went on Google Earth, I looked at satellite image, and there was a ring of dead trees all around this cabin. And that was, what, you figure 6 or 7 years prior. So the trees have been in a dead ring for many years. So imagine if we had a drone and you could see this ring of dead trees, real time. I know he's had his drone up all over the Cascades, and he's picked up anomalies. A lot of anomalies. And he can tell you the stories. He can tell you about his experiences. And, yeah, he's having a drone on the team. I encourage you, if you've got a paranormal team of your own, you look for a drone operator, because that'll be a big payoff. Whether you're, investigating someone's house, investigating Waverly Hills or a hotspot, you can see a lot more from the air, especially if you've got FLIR or thermal or any other kind of, full spectrum camera image. It's amazing what you can see from the air.
You know what one thing I do want to bring up quick is with the camera thing.
Okay.
There are a lot of videos floating around of the Snapchat filters, especially the one that is face swap.
Yes. My daughter had a face swap incident.
Really?
Yes.
We'll go into that.
Go ahead with that?
Yeah,
go
ahead and talk about that.
Okay, so she was sitting on the couch, and then she was playing with the face swap filter, and it wasn't doing anything because there was nobody else in the photo. And then all of a sudden, the Christmas tree behind her shoulder started swapping faces with her, and she tried to replicate it and show me, and then it wouldn't do it. And so I said, well, if that was really something, could you please do that again? I kid you not, it started face swapping with the middle of the Christmas tree. And she had it on record, and she was just laughing. I mean, it was funny. But, I mean, the lights weren't blinking or anything. We had the solid lights going. And it started swapping with the Christmas tree. And then she had a second incident where she was trying to do, like, the cat face swap. I don't know. But it started swapping with, like, her lower shoulder area.
Now, and, that brings up an excellent point. Not that, when you start asking things to do things, they will. And that's a perfect example of electronic manipulation. But it brings up the point that really irritates me, and that's the fact that there's so many apps out there that encourage people to make fake UFO sightings. And there's apps out there that they make spirits. And they, how many pictures have we seen in other paranormal groups where it's obvious somebody was making a fake picture? And you see the comments, oh my God, that's just an app. I've seen that app. What is the purpose? It brings such a bad taste in everyone's mouth in this field when you've got people that are making apps to fake evidence.
I think there's two purposes to that, Eric. The one purpose and the larger purpose, I believe, is actually done by the government and things like that, where they infiltrate because they want to make sure that most people are going to say, oh, that's fake, or oh, that's pareidolia. They want to make sure that if there is any damning evidence of the paranormal out there, that you're going to make yourself go nuts until you come to a conclusion in your mind whether or not you believe it's real or not. And that's for the average person.
Well, now, I can get that for UFOs. You know, the government hates people believing in UFOs because the government's involved with UFOs. But why spirits?
I'll tell you, the thing I think, it's like this whole thing, like they have the whole Momo thing and all that going on.
Yeah,
I think honestly, there are darker forces at work. I think they have an agenda where they want to get children cozy and comfortable with the idea of a ghost, with the idea of a spirit, with the idea of a demon or an entity. There was not necessarily, well, actually, yeah, it interacted with an app. It was sold at Walmart. It was called the Magic Talking Gin.
What?
Okay.
Yeah, little blue creature, Magic Talking Gin. I saw that, and I took it to customer service. I said, do you know what this is? Well, it's a toy, Magic Talking Gin.
Right.
Do you know what a gin is? And then they think you're nuts. And it's still on the shelves.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, people are more creeped out by you, the dude making a scene about the toy, than they are the toy that actually may have an ulterior motive. You've seen these videos on YouTube where toys are talking. There's been where people have hacked through certain toys that have cameras in them for kids. There's been a case where a kid had a camera and someone was yelling at the kid through the camera. And I think people are using spirits as a way to get to our children. Such as the case is, there are certain challenges. I refuse to name the exact challenges. But it's more than just the Bird Box challenge.
Oh, yeah.
That one, it's not spiritually motivated. But there are other ones that say, okay, this is a demon, this, that, or whatever. And you got a little 2 or 3-year-old kid, and it sees this figure come on the screen, and it says, you're going to take a screwdriver and put it in the light socket, and if you don't put it in the light socket, then we're going to come out of the mirror and eat you. And then you see the case where there's a video, this cartoon's on, and all of a sudden, this guy pops up in the video, and he's telling kids how to commit suicide. There's spiritual things like that. Has any of you ever heard of the cartoon Gravity Falls?
Yeah.
All right. So you know who Bill Cipher is then.
Yeah.
And you know the effects of a thought form and a tulpa. And if enough people think about it, like they say Slender Man, he was a tulpa because so many people thought him into existence. And the Night Stalker there, where he said Freddy Krueger came out of the screen and got into him, and that's why he killed people. Well, there's videos on YouTube showing children how to summon Bill Cipher. They may think they're summoning this cute little cuddly Disney cartoon thing. But in reality, there's actual symbolism into which they are being told to summon something much more worse. And that's where I think the motivation in all these apps lie, because they want to target our children. You gotta watch what your kids are doing. You can go into Google Play Store, you can see the history of the apps that have been downloaded on your account. And if you see something questionable, ask your kids. There's a fine line between respecting their privacy and protecting their interests.
I don't
Because
completely.
not all predators are human.
But I want to bring something up because I don't think I think they're targeting, if they are, they would be targeting your kids only for the aspect of security, and the kids are the vulnerable ones that are going to go for the apps. And the apps, if they had an underlying reason, the apps would be to breach your security. and to spy on you. You know, look at the smart TVs. Look at the smart TVs. How many times have you been talking on, you know, around your smartphone, and all of a sudden you mention Las Vegas, for example, and all of a sudden you've got all kinds of ads that come up for Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, same thing with your smart TV. I've got a smart TV in my living room. I don't worry about it because I got nothing to hide. So when it comes to, you know, that's my thing. You know, everyone talks about security. They're spying on us. If you've got nothing to hide, if you're not a criminal, if you're not doing something crooked, you've got nothing to worry about. So I don't worry about them spying on me. What are they going to find? Okay, so I'm a ufologist. So I have a paranormal emergency response team. Big deal. They don't come.
Let them
they don't
spy on me; they'll be bored.
What? They must be pretty bored to come after us because we're not a threat to them. We're a small team.
I don't agree that it's all spiritual, though.
No.
Yes, like you got to look. Okay, they target you through your smartphone and through your different devices, and they ad target you. How many times does that actually work? Because for me, it honestly works quite a few times. If I am sitting out there, like today, I was building, we're building an additional room on our house, and we discussed needing a new light. This evening, I got an email from Home Depot saying, "Hey, look at these lights."
Right.
Guess what? I looked at the lights. Look, it does work. It is honestly sometimes all about the Benjamins. It's about money sometimes.
Now, I'm gonna add to that, because what would our threat with Bigfoot be with the government? And I think monetary is a big thing with the government and Bigfoot. If the government comes out, and they kind of have indirectly, because here in Washington we've got the laws that say you cannot kill Bigfoot. He's not extinct. He's a rare species. There we go. In Canada, there's certain areas, same thing. So if they can come out with laws on the books, then obviously they're acknowledging that Bigfoot exists, or possibly exists, in their words. Now,
yes,
with two things, it's either they're scared that it's going to scare the tourists away, which it may not. It may bring tourists to look for Bigfoot. But do they want to take the chance? And two, y'all know about the spotted owl in Oregon. Once they found the spotted owl, they had to shut all logging down. So same thing. If they find Bigfoot here and say, yep, he's here, what if they shut down all the logging, which is a big industry? Yep. So I do think monetary does play a small role in it. Maybe not a small role,
definitely.
But say again?
Definitely. It's the same thing with the legend of Billy the Kid and the dude, Bill Roberts, who claimed to be him after he died. Because of that reason, because there was a man who claimed to be Billy the Kid after Billy the Kid was supposedly shot by Pat Garrett. And this man comes up and claims that he's Billy the Kid, and he has corroborating evidence that he is. So New Mexico has it in their law that whoever is sworn in as their governor has to agree that they will not write any order or sign any bill that exhumes Billy the Kid's body. Because once they do DNA testing, which they have his mother's DNA, they do DNA testing, they find out whether or not that body is or isn't Billy the Kid. And if that body isn't Billy the Kid, there goes their tourist money.
Right. Well, and getting to that, and I know we're 2 minutes away from break, but what do you think about Mothman? So I'm hearing a lot of skeptical stories about Mothman that, you know, Point Pleasant has this huge celebration every year about Mothman. And I'm hearing, you know, negative stories now that Mothman was really just a made-up story. The bridge was going to collapse anyway, and they made up Mothman to bring tourists to Point Pleasant. Do you think that's a possibility?
That very well could be a possibility. It's a very, I haven't heard of that. It very well could be a possibility. But on the other side, thinking deep, there's a conspiracy within a conspiracy there. Because also you could say, maybe people are saying this because Mothman is a harbinger or a warning, because he was a harbinger of doom that bridge was happening. Ultimately that's what it led to. So, with that being said, being so close to break, I could say it would also be maybe a better reason for them to keep it that way so that they could, continue to make money off it, like you said, but also leave doubts to still get people there. Maybe them saying that is a way to get people to get renewed interest into it.
And that's
because that goes
too.
into a campaign I'm actually trying to do. Ghostbusters is coming out again, Ghostbusters 3 next summer. Morrisville, New York is the hometown of the character Ray Stantz.
Right. Okay, and
Which
with
is
that,
all too funny. That's where I live.
we must go to break, and when we come back, I will have Steve on, and we'll talk drone operations.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Well, hello there. Us here at S4 would like to remind you out there that the UFOI team weekly meetings are broadcast live on Facebook from Denny's, where America eats, each Monday night, 6 to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at UFOI Team on Facebook. The UFOI team's gear, product store, and newsletter are located on their website at ufoiteam.com. To contact the UFOI team with your sightings report or a paranormal story, send an email to theufoiteam@gmail.com. Keep looking up and tell us your story.
Forest Moon Paranormal is a non-for-profit emergency response team that handles all aspects of the paranormal, helping you, your family, friends, and community since 2004. Whether you're having a problem with hauntings, spirits, Bigfoot, other types of cryptids, or UFO activity. Maybe you're just unsure of what's bothering or terrifying you. Or maybe you're just afraid of criticism and disbelief. FMP is here for you. We handle cases globally and locally from our headquarters in Skagit County, Washington. We never accept any form of payment for our services and are 100% confidential. You can find us on Facebook under Forest Moon Paranormal. You can private message us for assistance, or just come join in the discussion and become part of our growing FMP community.
Hello, my name's Cole Wegleitner with Statement of Sound DJ Productions. We do mixing, monitoring, recording, and editing for all your audio needs. For our local listeners in the Skagit area, we are taking bookings for your 2019 events and parties. We have a wide array of music from any genre. Please allow us to help you make these memories last forever. Contact us at 360-999-2830 or on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro.
This is a message from S4 and Forest Moon Paranormal. To all of our listeners out there, this season is a time filled with love, laughter, and cheer, no matter what you are celebrating. With that in mind, please keep safe and have a happy holidays from our home to yours.
Have you always wanted your company or organization advertised on the radio, but thought it was too expensive or wouldn't reach enough customers? Let S4 be your platform for your radio advertisement needs. Now accepting advertisements and promos for the 2019 year. Contact us at 360-999-2830 for more information and pricing, or check out our website at www.s-4 radio.com.
You are listening to S4 on Spreaker.com.
Steve, is that you?
All right,
Yep,
welcome back, folks. We're back to the last hour of the show. I think we do have Steve on the show now. You hear, Steve?
Yes, I am.
All right, excellent. So we've talked about everything under the sun, but we want to hear about drones. What does a drone benefit the paranormal?
Well, I mean, first of all, eyes in the sky. I would say that you get a better view of the world around you when you're looking at it from 400 feet in the air.
Exactly. And, you know,
Number
two,
though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Number two, Eric, though, I mean, it's got GPS and GLONASS, so I mean, if we spot something and we take a photograph or a video of it, we can locate that right down to 5 feet.
Exactly. Yeah, I just wanted to hear it from your perspective as the drone operator. And you know, I know Seth's got questions for you, but just to clarify, your battery range is 30 minutes, correct?
30 minutes in general, depending on how hard we're flying it. If we're chasing something, I might go down to about 20 minutes. Range on the drone is right around, with a boosted signal, we can get 7 miles out, 7 miles back. So usually range is not a problem on these Phantom 4s.
Right.
What's your top speed?
45 miles an hour.
Man, that's good.
Whoa.
And it's relatively quiet. I mean, it's got kind of a hum, kind of a buzz to it. It would attract Bigfoot. Go ahead.
I have the silent blades, Eric. They're a newer blade from the company DJI. They bring the decibels down by half. So, for example, right now I'm actually flying in Seattle, around the Space Needle and some of these areas, and nobody even knows it's above them.
Wow. Now,
with that being said, are you able to stream that live?
Yes, you can. It has a lot to do with what kind of signal you're getting. It's hardly ever viable, though.
Now, what's I'm getting it wrong. The FAA guidelines. I mean, where are you restricted from flying?
Well, of course, any military installation, within 5 miles of an airport, any airport is actually off limits unless you get prior permission, or actually just have to give them a call and tell them that you're going to be flying in their airspace. The main things that are off limits are no-fly zones such as over forest fires, sometimes over cities, but Seattle is not one of them. They have no rules against drones. It's all a changing atmosphere because there's a lot of laws up in the air right now, and we just basically have to take advantage of them. But national parks being your number one thing, it's really hard to get in there. You have to send a request into the federal government in order to fly there, and it can take up to 2 years to get an approval for that.
And why do you think that is?
Because in national parks, there's only so much area that the civilian life gets to see, and outside of those areas, there's a lot of things that the government would not want us to see.
Like missing 411, maybe?
No, absolutely. I mean, I could probably never find one because I don't think they're still in the national park, but there's so many people that go missing there, and it's funny that the United States government won't let us fly our drones there to search for these folks.
Right. Now, okay, I had to check a message here. So, with that being said, What is the craziest thing you found on your drone footage?
With the drone, I was actually flying with me and my children one day. It's called Mount Higgins. It's in the mountain loop of Western Washington. You're well aware of where it is.
Oh, yeah.
That was the day that we had the experience where something was attracted to the sound of the drone, came within 15 feet of us, and we never could see it. But by the size of the footsteps, it made me and my teenage son run back to our car. And when we got down to the bottom of the mountain, that's when it threw a big branch at us and hit the side of the truck.
And it reminds me of the Darrington case, or the Darrington experiencer that told me that when she was driving, they actually had a log thrown through their car window while they're driving down Mountain Loop Highway, actually. So, yeah, that does happen.
And that doesn't seem to be uncommon in that area. It's just that day, I know that whatever it was definitely attracted to the sound of the drone. I mean, these make a sound of like a swarm of bees, and anything with good hearing within half a mile is going to be attracted to that sound.
So, Seth, I know you've got questions.
Oh, yeah, I have a few.
Go ahead.
Now, I was wondering, for example, if you've looked into honestly getting your amateur radio license to couple with this, if you haven't already. Because if you get a general class or amateur extra with this drone that you have, you would actually be able to modify it to a certain degree because of the transmission of radio frequency, so that you could get more range and even add power supplies to it. Granted, I know there's a certain weight that it can carry. There are things that can be modified. But I've seen long flights of 20 miles or more. I mean, the fact that civilian-wise you can get 7 miles out of that is amazing. But I also really have to ask you, have you had anybody get after you because you're doing these investigations where someone's called the authorities or anything and they said, why are you snooping around here? Why are you doing this with a drone? Or has anybody ever threatened you because of flying it when you're performing an investigation?
Oh, absolutely. I'll answer that second question first. I get accosted just about every time I go out flying. Somebody always dislikes a drone. They believe that there's privacy concerns. And the best thing I can say to put people at ease about that is the fact that Phantom 4 Pros, most consumer drones do not have zoomable cameras. Even the ones that do can zoom very far. When we're at 200 feet, even 100 feet, people look like ants. And if we're flying over your backyard, we're definitely not looking at you unless we're down at 15, 20 feet. But yeah, in general, no matter if I'm flying for you guys or if I'm flying on my own as a photographer, in most every place I get accosted by a civilian here or there, and have been threatened with the police, but most of the time other people are very understanding, and if I give them my website and have them go look at photos, then they think, oh, well, it's a photography piece of equipment. And that's why I basically play myself off as a photographer so that I can do pretty much anything with the drone. Second, which was the first question, the upgrades. I can actually upgrade this one right now with proper tools to fly for 45 minutes, and I can add 2 more LiPo batteries to it, which will extend the range as well, because my antenna is capable of 20 miles absolutely. If I'm in a good open area at the 5 gigahertz level, it's going to keep on going. With those batteries, you do have to think about weight, but this can carry about a half a pound, give or take. So that's a pretty good sized set of extra batteries that could be attached to the side. And I have actually seen where people do that. And that would be something for like our investigations that would really work out well, so that we could get more time in the air out of one battery.
How much did that drone run you financially?
The drone itself is about $1,500, and then batteries run about 170 to 210 a piece. Blades are an additional cost. Antennas are an additional cost. I'm probably looking at $2,300 to $2,500 just in this drone alone.
Now, is there any form of type of insurance type deal that you can have with the company? Any type of warranty that really helps out with something like that?
Absolutely. They have excellent warranty for $150 when you buy the drone originally from DJI. They offer what's called Refresh Care, and they will cover you for your own accidental damage for up to a year. So if I was to crash it, totally my own fault, if it's non-repairable, they will replace the drone at no cost.
That's awesome.
Wow.
No,
So then
Yeah, the
you're
company-
able to... Go ahead.
The company's really, really big. Number one on the market is definitely DJI. Then would come probably Unique. We have an American company here, actually here in Bellevue, which is called Autel. They make a decent drone as well. Really, the three big companies, they'll protect you versus anything for a year. And then you can actually extend it after that year for another $150. Insurance-wise, you were asking about insurance. There's daily insurance. If you're a real estate photographer or something like that, or if you're going out on a missing person case, say a paranormal case, you can get daily insurance that will cover you for any damages, which is really helpful as well.
Now, with the drones, it's come up, I believe it was a month ago, where they had a UFO sighting over an airport, and they tried to say it was a drone. What are the chances of a UFO being mistaken, or a drone being mistaken for a UFO?
The chances of mistaking this drone for a UFO are pretty low, because, I mean, it's one thing if it's off in the distance. Number one, you're not going to see it with your naked eye, because most of these drones are either white or sometimes black, but even in the sun, they're lost instantly. Not to mention the fact that it has a unique look. They're all quadcopters, so you're going to see 4 arms coming off of it that the blade's attached to. I would say the only way to mistake or purposely mistake it would be to use a high-powered camera with a really good lens and some great editing.
And Joe's in the chat room. He says, chances are very good, Eric, for a drone being mistaken for a UFO. In the good old days, swamp gas was mistaken for a UFO. And, yeah, that's kind of my point, is the UFO they saw over the airport was not a drone. But
the other thing about these, Eric, they have actual flight lights on them. So they have running lights, and they blink at the same interval as, say, an airplane going through the sky. So my red and greens are blinking, and I mean, as soon as you see it, you're going to know, especially in the dark, what you're seeing. It's either going to look like an airplane to you, or as it gets closer, you're going to hear the buzzing of the bees.
Well, and it reminds me of the UFO we saw over Cedar Woolley back last 4th of July. And, I thought drone, but the way it was moving, there's no way it was a drone.
No, absolutely not.
It wasn't moving like a drone would have.
I got a question, Steve.
Go ahead.
So we earlier in the show we were talking about how sometimes in paranormal cases you can have equipment completely malfunction, batteries drained dead, due to spiritual contact.
Right.
Have you ever experienced that with your drones where it just completely malfunctions and there is absolutely no reason for it, and you leave the area and everything works fine?
Absolutely. Well, I was on I was on the largest search and rescue operation in Washington State history for a young lady on Vesper Peak, and once you get up to about 3,000 to 5,000 feet with it, the structure of the rock changes quite a bit, and there's a lot of granite, especially here in Western Washington, all over the country, really, all over the world. Something about the structure of the rock and what is in it, the mineralization, according to certain individuals. When you take off with a drone, it will lose its compass bearing. It will go in a direction at 45 miles an hour on its side, and it takes everything you got to be a good pilot to get it to come back to you backwards and on its side. And it's not an uncommon occurrence. I had it happen to me up there. The drone flew off 3 miles by itself before I finally was able to gain control and bring it back to myself. So there's definitely something, whether it be magnetite, hematite, something like that, or the granite itself, or something else. Something definitely does not, and this only happens in certain areas on the mountains. It doesn't happen all over, which is unusual because the entire mountain is made of granite. So you're hitting something up there that completely makes the compass go haywire, both compasses and both GPSs. So it's an unusual thing that happens, but it's very common.
Okay. What kind of wind can you travel in with the drone?
I've traveled in about 22 to 25 mile an hour winds, no problem. This drone could probably handle up to 35, and as long as I'm staying with the wind, then she'll handle pretty well. It'll come right down to about 5 to 7 miles an hour in a heavy headwind coming back into it, but it will stay stable in 10, 15, 20 mile an hour winds I've had, and you'll get a warning, but really it doesn't affect the drone.
Okay. My son got one of those mini drones from Walmart for his birthday, and
Sure.
He was flying it in our backyard, and we figured it was safe. There was only 5 mile an hour winds, maybe, and he went above the house, and suddenly we got a wind gust of like 25 miles an hour. And I'm like, well, that's in concrete now, and we were in bird's view, so figured that thing traveled 15 miles before it came down.
I would say if you're looking to invest in a drone for the kids, yeah, that's fine. If you're looking to invest in something for, say, a paranormal group out there or just a photographer, I would say you're going to spend right around $300 to $500 to get a drone that has the brushless motors that'll be able to actually handle that wind. I have a little puppy Unique that I take out that I bought for my son, and it weighs about a quarter pound, and just because it's from a well-known manufacturer and it has a pretty good powerful motor set in it, it can handle 10 to 12 mile an hour winds and still come right back to you. I would say though that anything you find at Walmart other than a DJI product, because they do carry them now, is going to be pretty dangerous to take out in anything over 5 to 7 mile an hour winds.
But you would suggest if you're going to buy the DJI product, you're going to want to go into a professional store, somewhere where you can ask questions.
I would absolutely not buy a drone until you've talked to a drone pilot, not even the people in the stores. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. There's not only that, the FAA regulations behind just flying a drone are extensive. I mean, just flying here in Seattle, I have 4 apps that I need to turn on to notify the FAA what I'm doing where I'm going, how long I'll be there, what distance I'm going to fly, what altitude I'm going to fly at, and they keep track of that. If I am to crash or something like that and I do damage, the FAA needs to have that so that later on they can, of course, come after us.
Steve, I got a question real quick.
Sure.
When you report to the FAA, does that reflect on some of the air traffic controller apps?
Yeah. I actually use an air traffic controller app on my phone to plan my flights so that they know where I'm going.
Okay, would that reflect on the app for like alternate user? Like, say I'm here in Darrington, but I maybe see a light in the sky. I want to check if it's a drone because it's not making any audible noise. Would my flight? No, it wouldn't. Okay.
It wouldn't, because they aren't going to track it actively. Basically, all they're doing is getting our information. So if they find a crashed drone into a house, they can come after us.
Okay, so it's more of an independent report that you're filing.
Absolutely.
Okay,
absolutely.
And my second question, real quick, is how many lights would your drone have if it was flying over my house at night?
It would have 4 lights. You would see green in the front and red in the rear in the direction that it's moving.
Okay, so standard Admiralty type.
Standard.
The red and the green. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good to know. Okay, so if I saw like a yellow orb shoot over my house, it's definitely not a drone.
The only time it would change to all red when the battery gets low to let the operator know it's time to land.
Outstanding. No, that's perfect. Thank you.
Now, does your drone come up with an app? Does your drone have an app that tells you your altitude for your own information?
Yeah, absolutely. I have what's called the DJI Go 4 app. It comes with every drone. Well, it doesn't actually come with the drone. You download it off the Play Store of all places. It's made by the company. It has everything that you would see if you were piloting a 747.
Wow.
So, real quick, go into the cameras. I know you've got FLIR. What's FLIR going to do, and how is it going to benefit a paranormal case?
Oh, geez. From the air?
Yeah.
From the air. I mean, FLIR on the ground is one thing, but you're going to get a lot of stuff in the way. When I'm above, say flying at 120 to 200 feet, and something big or something hot is out there, I have nothing in the way. And the canopies of the trees are not going to affect the FLIR either because they're going to be cold. So I don't have the tree trunks to deal with. All I have to deal with is clean, clear air, and we'll get a good spot on anything out there, whether it be human or a Bigfoot.
Go into, and it's not drone related so much, but go into the Bigfoot case that you and I went up to.
That was one that I was flying the drone as a photographer that day, and I had gone. This was on. It's a mountain called Mount Higgins, and at the top there's a lake. So I went down to the other side towards where you live, and I was flying the drone, and I had gotten done for the night. And as I was coming back up the road, I came around a corner probably going about 35 miles an hour. There was something. It was large, but not as large as a fully grown adult Sasquatch would be. It was maybe 6.5, 7 feet tall. It was hunched down. When I came around the corner, my headlights hit it before it started to run. So I see this, and I just see a big tree stump at first in the middle of the road. It stands up, it looks back at me, and it runs on 2 feet off the side of a cliff. So fast, I hit the gas trying to catch up to it. It was so fast when it went that I was unable to catch it, and he was no more than 50 yards in front of me. So whatever direction it decided to go in, which I believe we kind of figured out that it went downhill, it had hair like I always try to think of what to describe it as, like a sheep that hasn't been sheared for a long time. It was matted, it was brown, and it was big. And it ran like a human being, but it ran 10 times faster than a human being.
That was a fun case too. But I think if I remember right, though,
if you remember, when we went back and you were using the video camera, what interested me most was when I made that sound. When you hoot and holler, they answer, and it definitely was answering us. And that's when you and I were hearing the banging on the trees, which was just amazing.
And which is unfortunate, and that's where tech is important. Because when you have just a basic video cam, you need an external microphone because it will not pick up tree knocks. So when I made the video, we couldn't hear the knocks, and that was irritating. So yeah, that's where tech is important. Now, does your drone have audio?
It doesn't. I can add audio to it, but it's not going to be a great audio. I will admit that. We'd have to get a very directional microphone so that it points only down or at a 30-degree angle in front of it, because these props are really going to wash out the sound.
Right. And that's where we need to get Markham involved, because Markham can create a lightweight monodirectional microphone.
And that would be perfect.
And his scientific mind, I mean, him and I were talking about making a satellite dish mounted to a truck with a magnified EMF to track UFOs. I mean, there's all kinds of scientific tech that we are going to be looking at whenever we can, and whenever we have the finances and he can get here to start building stuff.
Well, you got to figure, even though this is a smaller drone, there's also a drone from DJI that's called the Inspire 2, and that actually can carry a payload. You're looking at right around between $5,000 and $20,000 for a drone like that. But that drone right there is something that has interchangeable lenses. It has FLIR built right into it. It's simple. You can fly that thing for about the same amount of time as this. It'll carry a few pounds. So, I mean, that would be quite the platform to turn into something that was made for longer time in the air, longer distances, more precise photography, and sound. So that drone right there is definitely top of the line, but you don't need that. I mean, the Phantom 4 is such an amazing drone. You can go on my Facebook at Steve Monchok and see just the amazing things that it can do and the shots that it can get and how crystal clear the ground is, even from 1,000 feet up. So we have software that is readily available to us, Forest Moon, which was donated to me by Wings of Mercy. We can locate something as small as a pencil at 400 feet in the air.
Yeah, we gained a lot of technology when we were on the Vesper Peak case until we pulled out of that case. But yeah, and the technology we've got accessible to us is designed, correct me if I'm wrong, but is actually designed to track terrorists.
Yes, it is.
So
yeah, it was designed by the military, by a contractor for the military. They're out of they're just south of where were they? Bellingham, I believe. I'm sorry, not Bellingham. They're down towards this way, whichever. Anyway, create the Predator drone software. So their software is able to literally pick a man out of a bush from 15 miles away.
Right. And, you know, we start getting the higher tech, we can start tracking Bigfoot through the mountains. I want to bring up, and Megan can address this too, but would your drone be able to access White Horse Mountain?
By access, did you mean climb to the top?
Yeah.
Absolutely, no problem. Been up there a few times.
Awesome.
Because Megan's been having a lot of UFO sightings over White Horse, which is another area we want to start hitting hard and heavy, as far as trying to track if there's landing sites, if there's any kind of trace evidence of UFO activity on White Horse.
Yeah, that would be. I mean, White Horse is known for unusual phenomena throughout the years, and I mean, the Native Americans even talked about it, that White Horse was a magical mountain, and they saw lights coming from it. So there's definitely something about White Horse and even Mount Higgins that something's attracted to it, and as much time as I've spent out in the woods in that area, I can tell you there's an uneasy feeling that I do not get from animals that I get from out in those granite rocks.
Yep.
So
Steve, the last. Oh, go ahead, Eric.
Well, you live at the base of Higgins, I believe, do you not?
I live like right at the base of Higgins, Siegelson, and then White Horse is like literally 5 miles to the south of me. And so all this traffic is literally going from White Horse, which is to the south, all the way to Higgins and Siegelson crossing. You know, the valley is very narrow here. And so these objects are shooting across my property, going from White Horse to Higgins, pretty much, in a south to north direction. And the valley from widest peak is like 12 miles wide. It is very narrow. And so for the last 2 weeks, I have had 4 incidences where I have seen glowing orbs traveling in the sky, and they do not travel in a manner that is feasible, meaning that they will change directions. They will change a 90-degree direction. They blink when asked a question. They disappear completely when acknowledged. The other thing is the speed, and there is no sound. And then all of a sudden we got F-18 screaming up the valley and 0 activity after. So it's very interesting.
Can I jump in there, Megan?
Yeah, go for it.
What color were the orbs that you saw?
So they've been very bright, very, very, very bright white bluish. So it's white orbs, but on the blue spectrum. Last night I actually saw like a dingy yellow colored orb that was hovering, and it was hovering on the Higgins side, and it went vertical. And then all of a sudden we had some commercial aircraft come in, and it disappeared.
The F-18s have actually flown. I was above an F-18 when he was flying down Mount Higgins, and yeah, he was coming right up the valley. He was doing Mach 3. They were breaking the sound barrier out through there, and he flew below the drone, and I caught a picture of them flying below my drone, which is totally illegal, first of all. There's something up those mountains, and there's something else on the other side of what's called Gold Hill. Every time I fly my drone over there, it loses signal after 1 mile. Something's jamming my signal whenever I fly over that mountain.
Okay.
Now, is that anywhere near the submarine sound or the submarine communication base?
No.
Yeah, you're talking like 6 miles like east from that, Eric. So, I mean, but we are in the vicinity because the Jim Creek has expanded The Jim Creek Reserve has expanded, but they are going more south than what Darrington is.
And that's interesting
So
because, according to news reports, Jim Creek is closed down.
No, they've expanded. They've added so many more towers. It's not funny.
Yeah. Because I know that was in the news as far as what the Russians... and, that brings up a very interesting theory, is that are the UFOs or the off-worlders more interested in the fact that the Russians are ramping up and putting out hot spots that they're going to target, which Jim Creek is one, came out in the news. And is that piquing their interest as far as... We know for a fact that UFOs are drawn to war. We know for a fact that the UFOs have actually shut down nuclear missile sites. And maybe all this, these threat actions with the Russians are piquing their interest and making them respond. And that's why they're here.
The thing I see about the military is very anti-drone. In my case, they hate my drone. They will instantly, just like those F-18s, they will instantly jam it. They'll jam my signal. I'll lose control of the drone. They'll knock it down. They're coming up every day with more and more drone defense that you can see on the news. They're coming up with net guns. They're coming up with the microwave guns. They're going to hit drones more and more because the more of us that are out there exploring, the more chances that we're going to find something. Only so long before I fly at 50 feet above the treetops and I see one of their entryways. And they're spread throughout the Cascades. There's definitely something in our national parks. There's definitely something on all government land. They're hiding something. They have been for a long time, and this technology is starting to make them shiver a little. And now with the new Space Force and everything else that they're trying to fool us with, they're getting ready to fight drones just as much as they are aliens, according to them.
Now, with what you just said, I have to ask you, we know that the military doesn't like your drone. Have you had any interactions with any type of non-human entity in which it let you know that it knew you were watching through the drone and that it wanted you to back off, or that it just didn't care that you were watching?
There was the first story that Eric had mentioned when he wanted me to talk about that. Whatever that was something that was intrigued by the drone. It came up, found out that it was us, humans, controlling it, ran up the hill with giant footsteps and chased us off. It did it enough to where it threw a stick and hit the side of the car with me and 5 other people in the vehicle to witness it. Yeah, there's definitely between the military or any paranormal being, they definitely do not want to be watching this drone. And that's why I usually try to fly high and quiet.
Now, we're coming down to the end of the show. We have like 15 minutes. I want you to go into, if you don't mind, the probably creepiest story I think you've encountered, and that was the orb that was interested in your kids and that you shot at and it backed off.
Right. That was interesting evening. Just a very interesting evening. That's why I asked Megan what she was seeing up around Whitehorse, because, I mean, it sounds familiar. A ball of light that is around at with no sound, no visible engines. It's just moving by itself. It can move slow. It hovers. It stops in place. It can stay at 8 feet, blink on and off. And then when you shoot it, it doesn't affect it. It backs back off into the woods and disappears. So
yes,
that's when I became a believer, Eric, and that's when I stopped thinking that all paranormal people were crazy. And no offense, but so I mean, me being a person who has to see, feel, touch, things like that, I would have never believed that could happen until it did. So that really opened my eyes, and that's why I can't wait to use this drone to go out and actually see if we can't see something, because I 100% believe that there's a Sasquatch out there, because I know damn well that I've seen it, and I know darn well that I saw an orb floating at 8 feet up in a tree coming at my kids. So there's things that, if you're willing to admit that you can't explain, that will put you on the path of being a believer.
Right, exactly. And that's actually when Steve joined the team, was when he found us, and he'd already had his Bigfoot encounter as well as the orb encounter, which I told Steve at that time that the orb is more than likely off-world, extraterrestrial. Whether it is technology of theirs that is intelligently controlled and they were just scouting, or it was an actual entity, who knows? But either way,
or it was their drone, just like my drone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But either way, our weaponry does not affect it.
Yeah, well,
that's for sure.
Honestly, Steve, when I saw the first orb go by, not this past Saturday, but the last Saturday, I honestly thought it was a drone, because one, it was so low to the house, it was so small, it was not making any audible noise, but the light configuration does not match. It was a solid single orb. But it was just floating slowly over the house, and here I am, like, chilling in the hot tub going, like, is somebody GoProing, and like, hi, do I wave? Like, I didn't know what it was, but then I acknowledged it. It blinked at me and took off.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, other than the fact that yours was not really a blinking orb, it definitely sounds a lot like what I saw down in the mountain loop, which is only 35 miles away from where you witnessed it. So, I mean, it's not like it's very far. If they're out, I'm sure Darrington is about the biggest hot spot in our local area for extraterrestrial or paranormal activity. I mean, there's always been stories in Darrington, by let alone the locals, but the natives as well, like I said. So I know there's got to be something up there.
Well, and it's funny because it's the whole strip. So you've got Darrington, which is a hotspot, and it goes down to Granite Falls, and it goes to Lake Stevens. Those three spots, because looking at the UFO reports, I mean, I've got a stack. And Darrington's on there, Granite Falls is on there, Lake Stevens is on there. I know people in both Granite Falls. We've had cases in Granite Falls, as well as activity in Lake Stevens. So we're coming down to about the last 12 minutes of the show. Was a quick show, was a great show. I think we covered every aspect of technology that I could think of, other than digital thermometers. But that's, you know what's funny is a lot of the technology that's used in the paranormal is actually used in construction. It's used in house builders, electricians. They're easy to find. And you can usually pick up an basic EMF meter if you don't get the app. I don't fully believe in apps completely. But you can find them for like $20, Amazon, because they're common. They're common because construction workers use them, electricians use them. But they just happen to be picked up in the paranormal as well. So it was a great show. And again, you don't have to have technology. It's just fun to have. It's fun to have, and it's great if you're after evidence. But if you're actually an emergency responder like we are, we don't have to have technology to clear homes or clear businesses or clear locations. So, Steve, where can we find your drone business?
The best place is Facebook, and it's just under my name. I use my own page, and then you can get to my business site from there. It's Steve Monchak, Monchak, and on Instagram at Pacific Northwest Dronetography.
All right, and Cole, where can we find Statement of Sound DJ Services?
Oh, you can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/SOSDJPro.
All right. And Seth, are you doing blogs still?
I've taken a little bit of a break from that, but I will be doing that up on my page. I'm going to be streaming some paranormal stuff to Twitch soon since they've redone their categories. A few tests and experimentation and some crowd participation. So if anybody wants to get involved on that, you're going to look up my channel, which will be Dark 30, but instead of the letter I in there, it's going to be a number 1.
Excellent.
Gotta say thank you, Steve. You were a wealth of information.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
And
thank you for having me.
It's
And
awesome.
thank you, Megan.
It's awesome having a drone operator and having a drone on the team because it makes me feel safer having eyes in the sky when the team is out. We don't have time to watch our backs completely when we're focused on a case, and it's nice having eyes in the sky to keep an eye on our back. Again, folks, if you're new to the show and you're having a paranormal issue, just go on Facebook, look for Forest Moon Paranormal, and join the group. And even if you're just interested in the paranormal, jump into the group. And next week we should be back on Night Dreams Talk Radio again. Also, we have our store launched. So if you want Forest Moon Paranormal or S4 gear, just go on www.s-4radio.com and look for the store. And we're always
check it out.
We're always upgrading. We're always adding new designs and new features and stuff. It's
but
a
the
never
designs
ending.
we already have are awesome.
Exactly. Travel mugs. We don't have socks yet, though. Dave's got socks. We don't.
Everyone help me convince my wife that I need a shower curtain for FMP.
We might get some gnomes, too. I don't know. I think we have a fairy. But anyway, so time has flown, folks. It always does. I want to thank our crew tonight. Cole Wigleitner, FMP Culture and Lore Research Specialist and owner of Statement of Sound DJ Services. Megan Gehring, FMP Astral Team and Security Specialist. Seth Kinsey, Conspiracy Specialist and FMP Team. Steve Monchak, our FMP Drone and Mountain Ops Specialist and FMP. And as always, you can catch S4 on Night Dreams Talk Radio every Saturday, 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. and KSVU 90.1 FM Saturday, 10 to 12. Next week, March 23rd, don't miss it. We'll be kicking off our March Paranormal Roundtable. And then March 30th, we have Butch Wachowski of UFO Cop coming to talk all things cryptid. So stay tuned for that. Make sure you go check out the new FMP and S4 store with all kinds of cool gear. Thank you again for listening to S4. Keep your eyes to the skies, and remember, it's you that give us a reason to produce S4. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week.